Oh yes, this is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. Today's show is sponsored by Ringmaster, on a mission to launch B2B podcasts that create relationships, generate revenue, and drive growth. Ringmasterlive.com. Bam. And there we go. We have left the station. We are on the roller coaster, about to go up the hill and introduce you to this crazy cool person. I can't wait to introduce you to her. She is an absolute badass entrepreneur, go-to-market expert, startup advisor, and her approach is the kind that I like. Jives with me. No excuse, no bullshit, get results. Love that approach. Founding member of Tech Ladies, fractional CRO to several growth-focused companies, CEO and founder of Albaloo, Pardees Safizadeh. Welcome.
Hey, Casey.
You're amazing. You do all these things. What's going on?
Thanks. The sleep is hard to find, but the things are good.
Yeah, well, you can sleep when you're dead, right? Isn't that the phrase? That's my phrase.
So.
Sleep when you're dead.
Yeah.
Who needs
you can sleep when it's Thanksgiving. That's my phrase.
Sleep after Thanksgiving, right?
Yes.
Well, hey, I can't wait. When we met up at Inbound, I was like, you got to come on this show. And I can't wait to learn from you. So I'm going to pass you this thing to answer this first question. It's heavy, but I know you're probably like way stronger than I am. So here this is. Okay. Okay. Can you grab that? Go ahead. Grab that.
It. I'm grabbing it. Yeah.
Get it?
I love it. It's like the Thor hammer.
Are you two fingering Thor's hammer?
I am. Yeah, man. I'm a boxer. I got the strength.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you just take Thor's hammer for me, smash some kind of marketing myth, bogus strategy, misconception, set the record straight once and for all.
All right. So my myth is that offline is the new online, and it doesn't take $10,000 to make it happen. Bam.
Boom. Offline is the new online, and it doesn't take 10. All right. We got some things to talk about. So what do you mean by offline is the new online?
Yes. So what has been happening because of all the new privacy laws that are going on across, starting with the EU and now coming to America, is that the cookies have disappeared because that's now illegal to be able to track people across multiple websites. So before, a lot of people used to know what you're doing because they had other quote unquote friends like Facebook, and they would be able to track what you're doing not only on their site but across every other website as well. And then you were able to target people based on that kind of behavior. People are still behaving. We just can't track it online, but the best place to track things is actually offline. You can look at different behaviors. We can look at lookalike audiences that make people look like the data that you have. And it's more based on what marketing should have been from the beginning instead of stalking people and like scraping their data when they didn't want to.
Right. So it's kind of fitting that it's like, if you're relying on this, you were being pseudo creepy anyways. So yeah. The universe has corrected. How do we track people offline?
Yeah. So my new favorite thing is that a lot of these new tools have kind of came on that are starting to track device IDs. So everyone has the number one tracker device at all times, which is AKA your phone. And that's what makes me laugh when everyone's saying like the government's tracking us. I'm like, dude, like you're tracking yourself based on where you're going. And as your Bluetooth connects to different Wi-Fi pings, or if you're connecting to different like Internet of Things devices, we can actually track where we're going. And a lot of these new ad platforms are now able to take those device IDs, find the people that are in a particular location, and then show them an ad across an ad network. You can't do it on Facebook or Instagram yet or right now, but you can actually use that as a really good strategy for like finding out where people are going. And it's cheaper than paying for an event sponsorship, which is really great. And it's like super useful. And it's a really great way of looking at signals. Do you want me to dive into other signals we can look at too?
Well, let me just ask you about this. So we got rid of the cookie, but we still have device IDs. So did anything really change?
It did change for creepy people who used to use it online. So it used to just be like a lot easier, and like it's not different, it's like different but the same at the same time. It's like a different mechanism that's like more allowed, because if you don't want to take your phone and be tracked, then like by all means don't do it. Whereas before there was like no consent to you actually being tracked. So no matter what you did, unless you had like an ad blocker that some people would figure out how to get around anyway, you didn't have any like say or not if you're actually going to be tracked somewhere.
How do I But do I give permission for device ID to track me?
You don't, but it's kind of like implicit, I would say. So I think like it's gonna get better as things go on. Like as you join like free Wi-Fi at like at a conference, for example, like you're putting your email address in, you're usually checking a checkbox that says like you have my right to like use my information. And that's how that's kind of working. So
Mm,
like today, like at certain places, you are given that consent. I'm thinking in the future that's going to become more of a standard thing no matter where you're at.
right. Logan Airport always asks me for an email address to get their free Wi-Fi, and I
Yep.
give it like the worst poorly formed email address at AOL.com.
Mm-hmm.
And hit enter. Oh, Panera too, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
there's a bunch of them. Yeah,
yeah.
Starbucks and
But if
but
you
like
put
some
your
of them
actual email in there, they are linking that up hardcore.
they are. And like some
Wow.
of them are smart. Like at Starbucks, you're able to actually link it with like your app reward
Your
system, and
app.
then they can make it more and like make it more of an experience for you. And I think like as we continue to delve on to like the transformation of digital, it's going to become more experience based. It's going to start bringing offline and online together. And it's like the Gen Zs like it, which is like so weird, but good for them.
Right.
Yeah.
How do we take advantage of this as marketers?
Yeah, so we can just start thinking about like the behaviors that are like personas or customers are doing offline as well to try, kind of bring that into our online strategy. So a few things that could basically like look for is like places that people are visiting,
Mhm.
events that they're attending, even like weather in certain geographies could actually implicit or elicit a thought to buy something. Like if it's raining somewhere, people usually buy like coats and jackets. You're more likely to buy umbrellas. When it gets colder, we may want to carve up for the winter. You know, there's like so many things to kind of look at. You can look at like stores they've bought before, or different places that they're like a part of, like if they're part of a particular community. You can
Mhm.
also look at other services and products that are tangential to yours that they've probably used before in some shape or form. So you just have to like start thinking like a little bit outside the box and like across the scope of the person. Like we always talk about like technographics, firmographics, demographics, and now it's trying to think of like behavior graphics, I guess is like the new way, and just like going to coin that right now and say behavior graphics are the new thing.
I think that is the name of the episode right there.
There we go.
Now, would you call it behavioral graphics or just behavior graphics, you think?
Behavior graphics is like demographic behavior graphic.
I like it. All right, just put a quick TM after that and you
Yeah,
can
I'm
own
gonna
that.
TM that.
There it
Albaloo
is.
done.
Done. Done. We're just inventing.
Market it.
Yeah, market it. It's done.
It's done.
Now it's
It's out
officially
there.
on a media outlet tied to your name. So congratulations. Go get the .com.
Thanks,
It's yours.
Casey. I'll
Uh
give you some royalty rights
oh,
too.
I'm getting some. Oh, cool. How much do I
Oh
get? How
yeah.
much do I get?
We can talk about that later.
We'll negotiate a contract offline,
I
people.
know
Um,
exactly. Yeah. No one
so
has
it,
to see us go head to head in contract
right.
negotiations.
Well, I'm just gonna lose that one hardcore, that's for sure. Tell me about this 10K. It's not necessary. We don't need to be spending
Yeah.
the money as much anymore.
Yeah, so these like new age of ad platforms are allow you to get started with like $10 a campaign now, which is awesome. So you no longer have to think about like, oh, like does my ad spend have to be like $10,000, $15,000? Back in the day, and I've only been marketing for like 15 years. I'm sure it was more crazy before that. Is like you used to have to put together like a $30,000 ad buy when you're trying to do something at scale like this. When I first started digital marketing, I always wanted to do a lot of these like cool campaigns. And it's like, oh, we start at 25,000. And I work for a lot of startups and small businesses. And like, we just could not spend that much on like one campaign. It's just crazy. But now
Jeez.
you can get started like $300. You can test it out. You can optimize it. And then as it starts working, you can start ramping up the spend, which is great in today's economy.
Where are you spending the $10? Where are you spending the $200? Is there a right platform to start that mini campaign?
So my new favorite one is Growth Channel. It's started by a woman who's in Austin, Texas. Her name is Marna. And she basically used to own an agency for 20 years, and she created this whole way of doing ads through like the device ID. She was like the first one I saw doing it. You have to have an agency to work with them. So if you want to work with them, feel free to hit me up or another agency for you.
No
But
sneaking
they're
over
just
to
starting
Marna just
out.
straight away. You gotta go
Like,
through the gatekeeper.
Yeah, I gotta go through all the gatekeepers and get everything set. But it's a very powerful technology that you can actually use, and like something that we're starting to put into like all of our clients' work, because you used to have to pay for an event to actually be there, or like pay for like I forget, like someone had like an ice cream truck that was like running around like inbound. Like they don't have to do that anymore. They could just
Totally.
target all of us at inbound and like send us an ad now, which is crazy.
Yeah, maybe we don't have those like competitors. There's always like a competitor that shows up to like the big conference. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't think this is gonna work, but I guess,
No.
But to your point, you can just
But
show up in ads. Hey, they're gonna be at
mhm,
inbound. Cool. Start
you're
blasting your
right.
ads.
And it's like done and done. It's pretty great.
Love that. Um, cool. So offline is the new online. 10K is not necessary. Let's go to market. What does it mean that you are a go-to-market advisor to startups, a go-to-market expert? How and what does that even mean?
Yeah. So it basically means like, how do you make money across all of your different growth channels and levers? So I work with a lot of startups. We all know the name of the game is to get funding. But, in today's economy, with like today, the limited partners today are losing money because the stock market's going down. So some of them saw like their net worths halved, and then they're the ones who fund the venture capitalists. So then they can't have as much money to spend on the startups they want to spend on. And so now like revenue is really becoming the next big thing that we have to worry about in this economic downturn, and also
Yeah,
like
totally.
profitability. So what I work with our clients is like, I started my career in marketing. I realized very quickly that, marketing can only be done as much as your profit and revenue is, because if you're not making money, you can't keep turning out the money and like expect to survive as a business. So I look at everything across like your sales channels, your marketing channels, different communities that we can be a part of. I like to call it like the hustler like dynamics, like how can we get in front of the most amount of people for the least amount of time and effort. And then we also look at the business structure, like, are we actually spending money in the right way? Do we have the right team? Do we invest in the right things at the right time to actually help us like propel that forward? And then how much do we actually want to spend on marketing? And how do we grow this at a sustainable, profitable rate, so you're always making something based on what you're actually doing out there?
Yeah. I love that. Love that. So really everyone should be go to market should be at the top of everyone's mind.
Yeah, go to market is the new, like, it's marketing, sales, like the whole product together. Really, it's like, honestly, it's like your business. And it's sad we had to like coin another term to
I
actually like
know.
think about that. But gone are the days when people will just buy like five different tools that all do the same thing. Like now they just want one, and then now you have to like really focus on figuring out like who's that niche, who are those people, and then how can we survive as a business in this time.
Uh, should this be in the realm of the CEO? Because you mentioned it's marketing, it's sales, it's product.
Yeah. So a lot of people think the CEO owns go to market, which like technically they do because they own the company, but they actually have to like put together a team across different like disciplines in their business to actually make it possible. Like, how are you going to know how your customers are churning if you're not talking to customer success? How do you
Right.
know like which product features are being used the most and what you should focus on if you're not talking to the product team? Like, how do you know what sales channels are working the best or what marketing channels are working the best if you're not talking to your marketing and sales leaders? So it is like owned by the CEO, but like they really require the use of the growth of everyone. And I think it's like the next progression where like everyone used to be like, I'm going to put the customer in the middle of everything I do, which is true. But like also, like your new customers, your current customers, and your customers who can pay more money, and like all of them should be really in the center. And like those are like the three parts of go to market that I really like will want to focus on.
You mentioned that funny, it's almost trite now, the idea of making your company putting the customers first, or customer
Yeah.
centric was the word. And I was
Yeah.
joking the other day, what is the opposite of a company that's customer centric? Like anti
Egocentric.
what's that?
Egocentric.
Oh, it's egocentric. Oh,
Well,
okay.
I
That
think like there are certain companies like Salesforce who like never fix their user experience, and they don't care. Like their customers, like, I mean, I would argue they're not in the middle of Salesforce. They can come back and sue me if they'd like, because like it's literally had the same UI UX since like 2005 or six, or like they tried to make like Lightning, and Lightning was still not
well,
great.
they made
Um,
Lightning, which was basically a Pardot HubSpot knockoff.
Yeah, but it didn't really like drastically change my life and make it better. It did take a lot longer to load when it first came out, and I was like, what is
Yeah.
this?
And then all your tools
But
break.
yeah, and I would argue that like that's not putting the customer in the center of what you're doing.
Right.
But they don't care because people use them anyway. Like they don't, I guess they don't have to. They have that luxury in life.
Got it. So egocentric might be the opposite than of customer centric. I was just
Yeah,
going to assume that almost everyone put their customer first,
it's like
but I
didactic
guess
and
not.
pandactic. Yeah, back in the day, you had like so little tools to use that like one company could just force you to use their tool and like they didn't care how you were doing.
Yeah.
Like Comcast is kind of like that today too. I'm just
Or
like laying
NetSuite.
down like all the ones I hate on. But
Yeah.
and like where I live, like I can't use anyone else other than Comcast.
Really? Because I
Yeah.
literally just got off of Comcast for both the
Yeah,
business
I
and the
have
home. I like literally just got
yeah.
off of them.
Yeah, I live in a condo unit. We only have Comcast. We don't have anything else.
You can't
Good for
like get,
comp.
because Fidium is like coming to town.
Yeah, like even the new ones coming into town, I still don't have.
Uh,
And so like Comcast doesn't care if I'm happy or not. I need Wi-Fi.
they really don't care. You know what? Actually, they do care. I talked to the nicest person ever at Comcast in the cancellation department, but I had already canceled. I had already signed up for
Aw,
Fidium. Fidium was already working. And it's
yeah,
like, man, if they had only put you out in front somewhere
right.
and I had talked to you on the business side, yeah,
Yeah. It's really like I don't
classic.
feel like they even empower their like customer support people to make those calls for them.
No.
I guess you could say they're too big and they can't afford people to like give off 50%, 20%, like
Yeah.
whatever you want to work. But like if we could all just pay what we wanted to pay or like what we could afford to pay to like keep our lives going, like that would be great. But
Yeah.
Comcast doesn't care.
No, they don't. They suck. I moved office location and the sweet
Oh,
deal I
nice.
had was stuck at the location, but I was in a 3-year deal. So I had to stay
Ooh.
in a 3-year deal, but the 3-year deal, they didn't have to stay in it. They only had to stay in it at the location. So when I moved across the street, they're like, I'm sorry, you need to buy a new deal. And
What?
prices were like 3 times as expensive. And
Oh, that's messed up.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
terrible, terrible. Hate you guys. Your net
Terrible.
promoter score is not improving.
Your net
Uh,
promoter score is -2.
So the flip side is a CEO grabbing a bunch of people, I guess not physically, but
Right.
metaphysically, curtailing people on his team to come join his squad all around.
Or her or their them.
Yeah,
Any gender, any
all of
CEO.
the things, all the people, all are welcome, can come into this go-to-market meeting.
Mhm.
And it needs a unified front, though. It can't just be someone's isolated project.
No, it has to be like a full company, like all hands on deck experience. Because at the end of the day, your profitability is really dependent upon your team too, like your support team or your customer success team or your product team. And so like you really can't be like, oh, we're gonna be more profitable. Like, cool. Like, one way of being profitable is like, all right, let's cut down all of our customer success meetings down to like 30 minutes instead of an hour. Like that's like one thing they could do to increase profitability, but then the CS team has to be able to actually implement that and do it.
Mhm.
And if they're not on board with it, then you're not going to be more profitable.
True. And then you're back. It's like
And then you're back
chasing
where you
yourself.
started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're back where you started.
Hmm.
Um, huh. Have you been in those meetings with that
Yeah.
squad?
I've been like an advisor to the squads before when I was working at the corporate startup roles. I like started at one company. I was like their first digital marketing person that like knew digital. And so because like that was my realm and no one else understood it, then I was put in those meetings with the CEO, the COO, the CTO, and like we would be talking about that and trying to figure out like what's the best tools to use, like how's our sales team actually functioning, how is our customer success team functioning, like what tools do they need. And because I was the only one who like understood digital tools, so I'm a digital marketing person, I was in charge of doing all that vendor management work with all of them and
Jeez.
implementing all of them. Yeah, it was really fun for me. I liked it.
Well,
um
it's priceless role, right? To be in that
yeah.
room. How did you wrangle the cats? How did you wrangle all these different leaders with their own responsibilities and likes?
I had two programs. I had a cookie program and a growler program. And I would have like a weekly winner from every team who like really helped me drive it forward. And they would get either a growler of their choice from one of our favorite breweries that was down the street, or they
Nice.
would get cookies from our favorite bakery down the street. And they could choose which one and whether or not they shared with people. And then I would announce it on Slack. Like that'd be like, here are the winners of today. And then I would present them. I made like a huge like thing when I would like present them the growler or the cookies. and then everyone would like clap, and then they would all come and see if they would share, and it was a fun time. So
That's
I just like
fun.
made it more fun. I made it, you have to, because like no one wants to work with me and like think about a new tool, but we need to like increase again like our efficiency, our profitability, like how the company works together, and like how can we track everything for all of our metrics to make sure we're actually hitting our KPIs.
Yeah. It's a tough call though. I don't know if I would choose beer or cookies. Are they
I
any
know.
kind of cookie? Are they like a certain kind?
So I would get their favorite flavor. So like they had this bakery in Boston. It's called Flower Bakery. It now has like 6 or 7 locations. Back then there was only one location, which was also near our office space. And they made these like most amazing like chocolate chip, like they had oatmeal raisin, they had like a lot of fun flavors. And I would just go get like a dozen cookies from them. And each cookie's like super thick, and it was like the
Oh
price of like
yeah.
2 cookies, and they're like gooey and amazing. Yeah. And
Well, I'm
then
looking at one right now. Holy
yeah,
crap.
yeah, it's very good. And it wasn't even that expensive for like 12 of them. I think it was like 20 or 30 bucks.
Okay. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
Jeez.
Yeah, I
Love
love
that.
incentivizing people. I call it healthy manipulation, which is
Healthy
great.
manipulation. Maybe that's the new title for the podcast.
Maybe I'll
That'll
just keep
definitely
going
get
out.
more
I'm
clicks,
here
right?
all hour. Yeah.
Healthy manipulation. That's good. We're just gonna hack the algorithm right now and just get like we're just gonna go viral
I'm just
on
gonna try.
YouTube.
Yeah, I'll just like do like a bunch of like A/B testing and see which one works, and just like send it
Totally.
out to
2
everyone.
episodes, right? And see who gets more clicks. Same
Exactly.
person,
I've
same
done that
interview.
before. I used to do that with
Have you?
ebooks. Yeah, I used to like change the title and keep the ebook the same and resend it out. So like I was in charge of like lead like engagement, and I would have to sometimes when I was like behind on hitting my number, I would just take the ebook, I would change the title, I would send it back out to everybody, and some of them would re-download the new one, and they never read it. They never realized it, and then some of them would buy afterwards.
So I was thinking you were excluding people that had got the
No,
first one.
no.
You're like, screw that. I'm gonna
The
send it to the
first time
same.
I was like, let me just try it. If someone calls me out, I'll be like, oh my bad, I made a mistake.
Oops.
But no one called me out. It was freaking wild. And some of them took demo meetings who had downloaded it before. It was crazy.
So do you think it was the new name or is the fact that they had seen it twice or
I think it was like the new name with like the right time. And it
oh
just
okay.
happened to be like, okay, they were like, oh, now I'm ready to actually do something. But they never read the ebook anyway, which is funny. Everyone spends so much time on their ebooks, and like no one, like very few
No
people
one
read
reads.
it. Sometimes I'll reach out to like a company and be like, I read your ebook, and this is like what I thought about this part. And they're like, oh wow, you read it? I'm like, yeah.
Oh
But yeah,
man.
so salespeople, if you want to get in front of your marketing prospects, read their ebooks and come up with a cool, fun fact that you never saw it, and they'll give you the time of day, because it's very, very, very rare to have someone do that.
It's weird but true, right? And it's like fill out this form, get your ebook, then don't
Yeah.
read it. It's like I just know that it's there in my inbox. One day I'll go read it, which one
Hmm.
day is never.
Yeah, my other favorite thing that I do when I want to meet people is I go to their latest podcast, or like even like 10 podcasts ago. I'll go in the middle of the podcast. I'll just go to like the middle of it, and I'll listen for like 2 minutes and find like a nice nugget of what they said, and I'll use that to connect with them. And then they think I listened to the whole thing, and I'm a long time listener.
Nice. Okay, what's the nugget for you when people want to reach out?
When they
They
want to reach
skipped
out
to
for
this
me,
spot.
skip.
Yeah.
I hope they skip to this spot. If they mention this spot, I'm like, all right, cool, you got here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. This is like a little Easter egg. Are they gonna get it or not? We don't know.
You're gonna go, you were
Um,
talking about cookies and
Yeah,
growlers.
or cookies or flour, or like, any type of connection. I had one guy who like gave me like the best email ever. I went to Boston College, and he basically like sent a picture of himself with like Matt Ryan, who's our quarterback at the time. And like I still like, my boyfriend makes fun of me because I'm like a Matt Ryan fanatic. And I was like, okay, fine. You met Matt Ryan, I'll talk to you. And like he
Yeah.
wrote
I mean,
like a
that's an
very
effort.
personalized email, like, saw you went to Boston College, you're a part of these clubs. I was too. This is me with Matt Ryan. If you want to like meet and talk about the software, we can. I'm like, I have no idea what the software does, but I'll give you like a 30-minute conversation.
Why not,
It
right?
works. Yeah, super
Seriously.
personalized. Hmm.
Hell yeah. So fun. I mean, this whole thing is fun, experimenting, trying new things. So I want to
Yeah.
take us back to go to market.
Hmm.
You've got an existing company
Yeah.
listening right now. Maybe
Hmm.
there's a few of them listening. Maybe
Hopefully.
there's no one, just my mom and her
Maybe it's
company.
just you and me and like our
It
parents.
could just be us and our parents listening,
And
right?
my grandfather, who doesn't really understand English all the way, but he'll still love it and like
Well,
tell me
let's
good job.
say
Yeah.
someone with a company is listening right now
Yes.
and they're thinking, okay, go to market. I've heard this talked about a lot. What is the first place to start? Like, where do I start?
You start where you're more successful. So you have to figure out, because like there's some companies that are sales companies and they have that. There's some companies that are marketing companies and they have that. And there are some companies like me who are like really referral. They just have like a good network that like keeps them afloat. So you just have to start like where you're strongest at. And then start building from there. Like lowest hanging fruit. What's the easiest to do? Start
Okay.
there.
So
Mm-hmm.
let me take that a step further with you. So start with
Yeah.
your successful.
Mm-hmm.
What's working?
Yeah.
Do you
And then
mean
you can
like
double down on it.
how you're getting people now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if I'm like a person who's like really good at going and like speaking at a conference, and like I figured out like the conference is speaking to customer pipeline, and like that's what I've been doing the last 3 years, like why would I start something new? I would just go to more conferences. I just book myself in more events like this, and then I would hopefully get more customers if that holds. Like that's what I like to
Got
tell
it.
people, like see what's actually working and then try to do it like three times more, and then see if your metrics still hold. If your metrics are still holding, then like just go for it all the way. Just like focus on that channel until you have enough profit to replace yourself out of that channel, and then start building the newest muscle after that.
Okay. So it's like, okay, we give it the 3 times. It's
Yeah.
still working. So
Yeah.
that's your
Then I'm
cue to
going on
like,
tour, like if
yeah,
I
go
can speak
crazy
at
with it.
like 3 or 4 conferences, I know I can book like 5 to 10 customers at each one. Then like, why would I stop? I'm like, let me just find every other community, every other event that's kind of happening that no one's seen me at before, and let me just go to all of them.
Yeah,
It's really fun to travel too. So if you're good at speaking, it's a pretty fun role and it's a pretty fun thing to do.
I'm with
Um,
you.
yeah, and like
Delta, JetBlue, should be
yeah,
fine.
I know. And sometimes if you have like a really good like speaking track or like a really good topic, you don't even have to change it because it's a whole new group of people every time. So you can just like take that out and like, you almost have your own little show and you just take your show on the road. Like be your own like book author who's like really good at doing like a best selling like road show, and just like go and do it.
Got it.
Yeah. And with today's like virtual audiences, you can even do it virtually. Although I think in person's like a lot better the conversion rate than virtual, but we'll see.
What if you have a lot of channels that are just sort of
Meh.
kind of working?
Yeah. So then we have to figure out like which one would work out the best. So I've worked with a couple companies like that. They're like, my marketing channels aren't profitable, but I have 10 of them. And so like I usually look underneath the hood and you'll find, like, I call them like glimpses of glory in like each of those channels. So like I worked with one company, they had 10 different ad campaigns going on, and all of last year they only got customers from 3 of those ad campaigns. So it looks like from the top, your channel is like not working. Like Google search doesn't work really well. But I'm just like, okay, you're spending your most money on a campaign that's never given you a customer before. Like, why are we doing this? And they're all
Yeah,
just like, mind blown. It's just like, for me, it's like obviously like duh. But for them, it was like, they had an agency running it. The agency didn't care how many customers they were running. They just cared about
yeah.
clicks and
They didn't
click-through
care
rate.
at all.
Yeah, and they weren't connecting it all the way through. And so that's why you really have to like, that's why I say like go to market, because it's not just your marketing and ad campaign. Like maybe your ad campaign brings in a shit ton of demos. What if those demos never become a customer? Like, is that a good marketing campaign? No.
No.
Like axe that. You're just getting like fluff in the funnel. You gotta like take that out. So, you just have to kind of look at it more, and then you can like cut it. And then once you cut it, like now you can take all that budget that you took away from those other ad campaigns and put it towards the ones that actually work. And all of a sudden you have one working channel, and then you can go deeper and start like spreading that out. Like, let's say like topic 1 was really good. Now we can spread it out into different subtopics, and we can just get like deeper and deeper into that until it's like fully functioning and working.
Cool. Or we could just hire you to do that for us. Is that the idea?
Yeah. Yeah. We could do that for you. It's
Okay,
very
because
fun. I love it.
there's some
Yeah.
details there.
Mhm.
Cool. Well, we got a chance to connect at an event. Are there other events that you recommend for marketers?
Oh,
We're all
yeah.
marketers listening to this saying like, where should we go? And I'm a baby at this because I've only gone to Salesforce events for like the last decade. So
Yeah.
I need to know where are we meeting up next? What's the next event?
Yeah. So the way I like to think about events is I have like the community events, like what communities I like to be a part of. I have like my vendors that I love, and like, what do they do? Because they usually put on some pretty good events. And then I have like, where can I go learn something? So it's like the educational, the vendors, and the communities. For me, like communities, I think of like startup events and stuff because I'm in a startup space. So we have like Art Basel. It's coming up in Miami first week of December. I'm trying to figure out if I can make it down there because Miami's expensive. But like that's basically their version of South by
Miami is
Southwest.
expensive. Have
Yeah,
you been to
but
Barton G's?
no,
You heard of that? No?
no.
Okay, you got to check it out. Everything's
Okay.
giant. So if you order like
Oh
a
boy,
steak, you might get a samurai sword attached to your plate.
it's like $1,000.
Like they'll actually put a samurai sword on your plate.
Oh wow,
Or if you order like fish, they'll have like a giant fishing lure
that's
attached to
very
your
good.
plate.
Oh
If you order an
wow,
appetizer, popcorn shrimp, they push
you get
out a whole
popcorn.
popcorn cart. It's
That's
insane.
hilarious. That's
Insane.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Art Basel, great. South by Southwest, always amazing to go to.
Yep.
We have I like all those different like regional startup events that are happening. Like there's the ones in Boston, Austin, Denver. I think like Alabama is starting their own one. Like Raleigh has Raleigh
Yeah.
Durham Startup Week. There's a ton of them. I
You
know
going to
there's
all these?
Venture Atlanta. I do want to one day. This is my dream.
Yeah.
To like be able to go to all of these events. But like I go to
Oh, yeah.
Startup Boston. I'm in Boston. We sponsor that one every year. We basically will make a revenue number every year. We're just showing up to that one event. And that's
When
what I
is
mean by
that?
like going.
You said
It's
Startup
in
Boston?
September. It's usually the third week of September.
Okay.
It just happened. But yeah, come next year. And they're starting to do
Totally.
more quarterly events too. Yeah, they're like, I can talk all day about Startup Boston too. Their email list is so well tagged because it's a free event. They have like 250 speakers from the best startups all around Boston, 9 different tracks, depending on like what your role is, or whether or not you're a venture capitalist or investor or want to be investor, or if you're an entrepreneur or startup, or if you work in a startup too, which is like really great and useful. And then they ask you like 12 questions to sign up for free. So they have the most like well tagged database I've ever seen, and their database is like more than 15,000. It is so powerful.
What do they
Yeah.
do with it?
I'm helping them out with this. So my friend runs it. Her name is Stephanie. We're doing more sponsorships. We're doing more. I love sponsorships too as a way of like marketing. Like that's my favorite thing because you don't have to spend as much money as if you were doing like a booth or an event space or a speaking gig, and you can get all the email addresses, which is the most important thing. We can do so much once you have that email address.
Hell yeah.
Like the lookalike audiences, like the emailing, the tracking, and like seeing who they are. And so like that's like my honestly my favorite go-to-market strategy. It's just like finding the cheapest thing to sponsor for the most amount of people and just like doing it over and over again and just like getting ingrained in one community. And that can really just like make or break your startup right there. Like that could just be your whole strategy. I just go to one event. That was mine for the last 3 years. I go to one event, I meet people, I sell them, and I survive. and we keep going, which is
Wow.
great. And so, yeah, but then, as we get bigger, we can start thinking about like other events, like, all right, like we're really big in Boston, like now let's try out Denver, or let's try San Francisco. San Francisco also has SaaSter, which is like SaaS and then TER,
Sure.
which is my like TR. There's no E because it's about startups. But
Right.
like
Enter
I
was
love
taken.
it. Yeah, but they get the best guests. Like they have an amazing podcast. One of my friends, she got a booth at their event space. It was very expensive, but they got 400 leads, like just from that one event, which is great. Like I can't even handle 400 leads. So like for me, like we're not there yet. Like I definitely like it doesn't make sense for me to show up there. But for other companies who can handle 400 leads, like that might be a good place for you to show up. So like that's
Hell
pretty
yeah.
fun.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's get
Yeah,
400
let's do it.
leads.
Let's do it.
Totally.
And then yeah, and then from like my favorite tools, there's like HubSpot, obviously, like they have really good conferences like Salesforce, Marketo. I just love going to like all the vendor industry conferences that are available because you just learn so much. And even if you don't use their tools, you can figure out how to use their tools. Like I love going to Terminus. Like I'll talk shit about like I love like the co-founders of Terminus. Like number one, they're great. But their tool, I could do it by hand. Have been doing it for hand for like 8 years. Like I don't need
Shots
a tool to do an
fired right
ABM
there. No, you need the
strategy.
tool. You
I
need
don't
the
need your
tool.
tool. No, but
They're
like
cool though.
I can learn so much from their conference and just figure out how to do it without their tool.
Yeah.
So it's like, that it's a really good learning spot. And then the last one is like it's really like the community based. Like I go to like a lot of like women entrepreneur events. I go to a lot of like Persian and tech events because I'm Persian. And it's just like finding the people who are like you and doing what you're doing at the same time, and like creating those networks that can help you like grow faster and grow better. And like those people may give you more of a chance when you're starting out because they want to support one of their own versus a stranger who's like not a part of their community.
Hell yeah. So good. So good. Who are you? Who are you? I mean, I know you, but take me back, little Pardees Day. Like you're little, you're growing up, did you know you're going to be a go-to-market wizard? Did you know you're going to be leading, executives in the path of the go-to-market and really helping companies grow? Take me back in time. What was it like, little you?
Little me was crazy. Number one, I feel terrible for my parents. So that was the firstborn, and I'm the like my mom calls me the wild child. I was like basically the wild card. So I had like a crazy independent streak. I would not want anyone to help me with anything. I want to figure it out on my own. I also used to stare down people when I was a kid and just like stare at them, and like until they said hi to me, I would just like demand attention all the time. I was like screaming, I was yelling. I had my sister,
Can
she's
you
like
blink when you're
14.
staring down, or is it like a no
No,
blink,
I would just stare at them
no
like
blink
straight on,
challenge?
like stare. Yeah, when I was a kid. And then like whenever we went to a restaurant, I like would cry until my parents put me on the table so I could look at everyone and like see the entire restaurant. I'd also demand a piece of bread so I felt like I was eating with them. I just like never like basically it's like I was like Stewie, like the kid from like Family Guy. Like I like never saw myself as a kid. I'm like, I'm an adult. Like, what am I doing here? Why are we here? Like, why can't I do things? And then my sister, she was 14 months younger than me. She was like my number one guinea pig on like everything, and best friend.
Like
And
Pinky in the
like,
Brain.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, she had her own ideas too, but I was like very demanding. And we have like a lot of stories. And I was just like, no, you're doing this. And she would try to like say no. And I'd be like, I'm not taking no for an answer from you. And so it was just like,
She
poor
is in
sister.
therapy right now, recovering from
Yeah.
this.
I mean, yeah, I didn't mean it. I was like a kid. But basically, like I was I was always a hustler from the beginning. So my parents are from Iran. We came from we like my mom came to marry my dad in America. That's how she got here. She didn't speak English when I was first born. We weren't planning on staying here. So we didn't really assimilate until I was 5 years old. And we're like, oh, like we're still here. Like I have to go to school. Like let's just go. So it was really hard for my parents because number one, they were trying to give me advice as if we were in Iran, and Iran and American school systems and like values are like very different things. And so like number one thing like I would butt heads with my dad about was like the American consumerism. Like you have to buy the right clothes, you have to look good in school. Like I used to get made fun of because like my clothes weren't like the right clothes, or like my hair was like really crazy and long and
Lame.
big because I'm Persian. And like that's just like our culture. But like everyone else is Irish, like nothing wrong with Irish people, but we had very different ideas of like what to do. So my dad wouldn't let us spend money on certain things because we're like a one income household. We were trying to save money. We're like helping our family out in Iran too. And I would be like, we have to buy these things to fit in with the neighborhood kids, or we have to buy these things to fit in with everyone. And my dad would say no. I'm like, all right, well then I need to figure out how we can do that. So like my sisters and
Right.
I like don't have homemade Halloween costumes. Like we can get good cakes. I mean, my poor mom would make like amazing cakes and stuff. We'd still get made fun of sometimes in school with our costumes and stuff because they were handmade, and people would go to like the Disney store and like buy like the Disney Pocahontas outfit, and I would have like the handmade Pocahontas outfit. And they're
Oh,
like, what
yeah.
are you? I'm like, I am Pocahontas. And they're like, doesn't look like it. I'm like, well, sucks. Okay. But I didn't even have the language back then to tell you to like fuck off. So
Right.
basically, like I started like hustling since I was like, I don't know, like 8, 9 years old. I started like horseback riding for money. I realized I was good at just like holding on for dear life on horses. And so I like fell off of one at a lesson, and my mom like was so mad because like I overheard them talking and being like, hey, like this horse needs to be sold because she can't ride it. And I was like, what do you mean? So I went and asked them. They're like, well, like we tried to have everyone else ride the horse. Everyone else also fell off. You were like a last ditch effort to like train this horse. And then I go to my mom. I'm like, Mom, like they told me that they're going to sell the horse because I couldn't ride the horse. And my mom was like, why are you an experiment? And she would got so mad. She's like, I'm going to go talk to them. So she went and she was
Hell
like,
yeah.
how dare you put my daughter in danger? Like, what are you doing? Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I want her to ride the best horses, like, while she's having these lessons that we're paying for. And then I was like, I don't mind riding the horses. And everyone was just like, what? I'm like, why can't I just like get paid to ride the horses? And they were like, oh, okay. So then they started paying me to ride the horses, which was pretty fun. And then
So
I
you ride
started
the
like,
crazy horses to help
yeah,
get them to chill
and
out.
they
You're the
would pay me like,
experiment.
yeah.
You get paid to be the
I
experiment.
got paid to do that, like as a kid when I first started out. And then like I have another sister. So my sisters were like really like influential in me like becoming like a hustler and go to market strategist. And so the baby sister was 5 years younger than me, which was like the perfect age difference for babysitting. So I started babysitting her, and then all of her friends would come over and I would like watch all of them, and then I would talk to their parents because that's what we do when you're an Iranian kid. You talk to everyone's parents, I guess. And the parents would be like, hey, like we have to go somewhere? I'm like, oh, you want me to watch your kids? And they're like, yes. And then I started playing with pricing strategy without realizing it on my own. And I get that from my mom. My mom has always taught me that you can like talk your way into anything. Like she would do it for school because she was like going to school while having 3 kids, which is like
Oh
ridiculous.
my
And she was like,
goodness.
the time she was 30, she had 3 kids. It was like, I'm like, I don't even understand. I'm 34 with 0 kids. I can barely take care of myself. I'm like, how did my mom do it? I don't know. But basically, like she was going to school, like since my sister was like 5, she was going to school. So she was like 35, 3 kids, going to school. And then she would get away with anything. She like the professors would like be like, this is due on this date. She would pass it in like 6 months later, and she would like go back and talk to them and convince them to give her an A, and they would. And I was like, what else can I do? So I took that to like a whole other level. And I was like sliding scale for babysitting based on what they could afford. The richer families, I like charged them like $80-$100 an hour. The poorer families that I liked,
Is
I
this
charged
like
them like
in
20.
Iranian currency? Because that sounds like a lot.
This is in US dollars. I was
Whoa,
a
whoa,
very
whoa,
rich
wait,
child.
$100 an hour?
Yeah, I made like $1,000 one night babysitting. It was amazing.
What I'm in the wrong job. I think marketing is not really a fit for me. I should get back into babysitting.
Now like we can talk about like my marketing rates too, but like for some like strategy meetings, I do charge like $750 for strategy
Sure, sure.
per hour when I'm doing that stuff. But we can talk
Oh,
about that later. But I get a
wow.
lot done in that hour. Yeah, it's pretty good.
See,
All
that
about
makes
the
sense because if
value.
you had stayed at the same low rate for everyone, you'd miss out on that giant upside.
I know. Yeah, some people can make it, some people can't. And the ones who I like to work with, I would do it. And then some of them I would just like up it every now and then. Like I'm busier, I'm busier, I'm busier. I have middle sisters to also deploy into babysitting too. So we
Did
could
you ever
split it
like
on
farm
some
them out
nights.
as like your workers?
Yes, of course. Yeah. My poor sister. She was like hired and fired multiple times by me. I was like, growing up with me was probably a nightmare. I've got to say, like, poor family. Sorry, guys. I'm better now. But basically, like, started doing all of that. I went to college. When I was in college, Facebook was a thing. I started using Facebook for theater. So I also told my parents I was pre-med, but I only did pre-med because I could become a theater major. And they did not know that.
Oh,
But
wait,
I
wait, wait.
basically
So pre-med, you could do anything, right? Because you're
yeah,
pre-med.
BC pre-med is I'm into Boston College. Pre-med's a concentration and not a major. And so I told my parents I was a pre-med major. I used to always like just tell them things and see what I could get away with too.
Oh God.
And like,
So
yeah, they
you
were
could
like
major in
anti
theater,
arts.
but you're on a pre-med concentration. And then after that, you would
Yep,
apply to med school,
med school.
technically.
Yeah, but I never wanted to go to med school.
And you
I
would
just
have like
wanted to
none
make
of
my
the
parents
extra
like
classes because you were in theater
no,
classes the
I
whole
would
time.
still have to take like the basics of like all the biology, all the chemistry. Like I did like 2 years of it. So I basically got a bio minor because I took so many science classes as part of my pre-med concentration. Which is crazy. But I just like wasn't into it. I hated lab. Lab was terrible. Like you don't talk to anyone. Everyone's like working so hard to get it done. And I told that to my teacher and he was like, well, if you don't like lab, you're not gonna like science. Like you can't do this. So I was like, okay, like cool. Let me figure out a new thing. So I thought about pre-law. So it became a pre-law concentration. And my pre-law professor said, you cannot do pre-law. You're way too creative. You're way too talented. That would be like a waste of like you to do that. And I was like, I like cried when he said that, but today I'm like, thank you, professor. You were the only one who gave me really good like life advice. Like that was actually good. I did get an A in all his classes though. I made sure of it. So that was good. I also convinced him to do some things based on what my mom taught me, but it's good times. But like when I was in school, because of the theater major, my best friend at the time, she was a director, and then I was like her operations stage manager person.
Yep.
And we would put on all these like anti-racist, like controversial shows. We would get blacklisted from the school paper, and she would like cry. She'd be like, no one's gonna come watch what we're doing. And I'm like, no, like I like at one point in time I became a marketing major, and like I was a PR public relations major too, before my parents did not know that. Communications. After I
Are they
decided
gonna
that was
listen to
not for
this?
me,
Are they gonna watch
I
this?
s- I hope so because I
Because
was
then,
going to
like,
my
you
mom.
just come clean on the podcast and then don't
And
even
just
have to
and
tell
they
them.
know it. I tell them all too. I'm just like
Okay.
they know. They experienced it. My dad like did not talk to me for like a month or two after I told them I'm graduating with a theater communications double major.
Just kidding. Tricked you. Hey.
I'm like, oh shit, they're going to see the diploma. But yeah. So then through that, I'm like, I'll figure this out. So I started using Facebook to bring people like to our events. And then we actually became the only student show to like sell out all of our showings our senior year because I learned how to do this so well. I got a I got an internship at a Boston online music magazine. At the time, it was called Boston Music Spotlight. It was a startup, quote unquote. Like, I didn't realize it was a startup. I was like, this is cool. Like, Facebook could be a job. I didn't realize that. And they had us going to shows that they were putting on. We would blog about it. And because back then only college kids could be on Facebook, like they wanted us to post it on all of our Facebooks. And so they hired 15 interns. I was one of 15. They were using Google Analytics, like a V1 back in the day. It's like 2009 to like
Straight
track
out of
like
Urchin.
how,
Yeah.
yeah, seriously, like basement, just to like track like how well is everything doing. And they found out that only my blogs were like driving traffic for them. And so they went to me and were like, what are you doing? And I showed them I had this whole like system for like doing my theater shows. I was doing the same thing for their music shows. And they're like, oh, like, can you put like show all the other interns what you're doing so they can create all these groups and stuff? And I was like, sure. So then I became in charge of all 15, all 14 interns. I was intern 15. I became head intern, which was kind of funny. And I like ran like a Facebook marketing team, I guess, like
Hell
back
yeah.
then. Yeah. And then that's when I realized like, oh shit, like businesses want to get on social media because they want to talk to college kids. And then I started funding my party money by like making Facebook groups, going to businesses and telling them like, hey, I can do a promotion for you on this Facebook group. How much you want to pay? And they would just tell me. So, and then that's how I started like doing, you know, things like that. And then, you know, Twitter came out. I was like, oh, Twitter could be a thing too. Like I might as well get on that. So I started doing that. By the time I was graduating, everyone's joke with me, they basically everyone was like, your majors are like trivia, because I was like communication and theater. And they're like, what are you going to do with that? And I'm like, Facebook. And they're like, are you seriously going to make money off Facebook forever? And I'm like, yes. And joke's on you, everybody, BC class of 2010, because that's what I'm doing now.
That's exactly what you're doing now. No end in sight.
Yeah, it's like a part of what we do. But yeah, and then LinkedIn became a thing. And my new favorite thing is I used to tweet at executives on LinkedIn and tell, no, I used to tweet at them on Twitter and tell them that they need to make a LinkedIn if they wanted to get better at sales and marketing for their business. And some of them would pay me to train their teams. Like I trained finance teams, I trained insurance teams. I like helped some startup CEOs make their LinkedIns. It was super fun. And like I got to learn with like about like a lot of executives. A lot of them are my mentors, and like I still talk to a lot of them today. It's like great.
What a wild adventure.
Yeah, it was like right place, right time, for sure. Because
Yeah,
like
for
if I
sure.
graduated before or after that, like I would have found another hustle, I guess. But
You would have
like
found it. Yeah.
it would have
But
been
you were
this.
open to it. Though you were like, you have to be open enough to see the thing that's happening. And you were.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just like, this is like crazy. Back then on LinkedIn, you could message anybody and they would respond because it was like getting mail for the first time when you're a kid, you know? They're like, oh shoot, an email. I love it.
Totally.
And it used to be so fun.
Jeez.
Yeah, now we're just spammed every day by like hundreds of people.
Oh my gosh, I got one today. Would you help me? Can you subscribe to my newsletter and give me feedback? I was like,
Oh
dude,
gosh,
actually
that's like
wrote,
a
dude, no.
four-part.
He's like, you
Yeah.
can say no. And I was like, dude, no. And I just ranted for a bit. He didn't deserve my free rant, but it was free consulting. So
there you go. Yeah. There you go. That's
Man,
what
this
you
is
got.
amazing. I have a hypothetical question for you next.
Yeah, sure.
See, I may or may not have a time machine up here in New Hampshire.
Okay.
Come visit, get some beer.
Yes.
You know, and we get to use the time machine.
Hang out.
Right? Hang out, take a spin on the time machine, and it goes back in time. It's a very particular time machine. It goes back in time, and you get to meet yourself a couple days after that theater degree, that theater and communications degree. You just graduated. You're talking to that version of you just a few years ago. What do you say to her? What kind of advice do you give to that version of you?
So like my biggest thing is just like don't let other people change me. And there's like more to the world out there than like the small towns and like the family and the institutions that I've been like currently part of. Like back like through my life, like in the very beginning, a lot of people will just say no to me like a lot, and that used to like hurt me. Like it would hurt me so bad. Like I had one CEO at like one company I tried to like work with, and at the end he was like, I think you should never work at a startup again. And I was just like, what? And like he was basically told me like my whole career like would make zero sense. I'm not good at what I do. I don't have the experience. I literally cried for like a month, like every day for a month. I would cry. I know, like there's a lot of those people out there.
Tell me who it is. Are they in Boston?
They are in Boston.
I'm not going to reveal
that
on the show who it was, so they can all go follow them on LinkedIn, or just
no. It was a big accelerator in Boston that is now international.
Joke's on him, huh?
I know he's no longer, I mean, he did pretty well. He's no longer the CEO. He has his own venture firm now. But like my
Oh, is that
favorite thing
because
that
he's now in the Bahamas because FTX closed down? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I don't
No.
know. But like my other favorite thing that he would say like around me was always like I'm a very smart person. And like I just could never take that seriously. But like, he was like a self-described like amazing person. He was the CEO of his organization. They were doing all this stuff. And he was like all about startups. And he told me that like you can't do this. Like and like that just like it really sucked. And like it happened a lot. I got blacklisted a lot in Boston by a lot of older people who basically told me like I don't have like the strategy, I don't have the experience, like I'm not good enough to be doing what I'm doing. And like that stuff, like it really hurt me. It really like forced me for a little while to like turn into someone that I'm not. And I kept trying to pretend to be like this different type of person. Like I was never like this unfiltered before.
Yeah.
Except for like the last like 4 or 5 years, I've been coming like more and more unfiltered as we go. And a couple of my old coworkers, I got one job at a startup that was a marketing tech startup. And the nice thing about that is that there were like a lot more women that were
Oh,
in that
cool.
team. And like that was the first time, like my company before that, there were more men named Dave than women at that company. And then this next one, I
There were
think,
more men named Dave than there
yeah,
were women
like
that were working at
Dave's
that
were
company.
10% of the company and women were like 3% of the company. And I think like I did like a woman in tech like presentation to my CEO and I use that metric. I'm like, we need more women than Dave's. Can we like put that
Can we fix that? Yeah.
as part of like our metrics to track? But this next one, like there were a lot of like it was a lot more women, like they came from many different cultures, and one of them, she was like a riot. She was just crazy off the cuff. She didn't care, and she was like the head of the B2C group
Wow.
basically that we had over there. And she was just amazing. I was just like, I could just be like you and still have a career. Like I'm down. And so then that like
Yeah.
got me out of my shell a little bit more. Like we were like very similar personality wise. I was just like a little bit more like timid than she was and like professional, quote unquote. But she was just as professional. She was like working hard. She was getting results. She would just like have a fun and have a ball and do whatever she wanted during it, which is crazy. So that kind of like brought me out of
Sounds
my
like a
shell and like
great
showed me.
example, right? Just a great,
Yeah.
sometimes you just need an example. Look at that and go, you know what? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she was like the head of marketing at Karma before. Like now she's running like a few different startups like out in Seattle. Like she's great. She's like the head of
Hell
customer
yeah.
success, head of marketing, and like still amazing and like
So
still
good.
herself. It's
So
great.
good.
Like unapologetically. So like yeah, that's
What's
my
her
little
name?
thing. Megan Nisley. I just texted
Shout
her the
out.
other day. I
She's an
know. Shout
absolute
out.
badass.
I'm
We
gonna
should get her
tag
on
her.
here,
Be like,
you
you're still
know?
my hero. Yeah, yeah. You should definitely talk to her. It'll be like a whole different experience.
But like you said, you timid compared to her. So like, I sounds like I'm in for like an adventure because I don't
Yeah,
think you're timid at
it's a
all.
wild, wild ride
Jeez.
for sure.
Well, that's cool. So it sounds like you would definitely encourage that younger you, knowing that you're going to have some naysayers, the people saying no.
Yeah. And like I was always told like I'm not professional enough. Like, my hair is usually purple. It's just like I'm in between hair dyes right now.
I noticed
And
no
like
purple today.
no purple today. I got is like I've had been during like through a crazy hair care like journey at the moment. But we can talk more about that later. But
Well,
I
we could
accidentally
repurpose
struck
this
this
whole show for
purple.
like hair care for marketers,
Exactly. Hair care for stress marketers. Here's what you do who want to work out a lot.
Don't over
But
dye,
yeah.
don't use the wrong dye, don't.
Yeah.
I
You have
mean,
to have a
purple, you
good
got
like
to it's not like you can just blend it in if it's the wrong thing, right?
no.
You're like
No.
it's there.
And it's like, my hair gets like really brittle and dry. So now I have like a 6-step like hair care routine that I use to go along with my 4-step skincare routine that my little sister made me do. Baby sister's really into skincare now. And
Okay,
so
what is your
that's good.
6-step hair care routine? Because I feel like this
I
is marketing content that no one captures, and I feel like people would be so mad at me if they didn't. 6 steps.
yeah. All right. So number one, I have to use like a hair mask. So a few days before, like I want to dye my hair, I use like a hair mask. And that's just like a really thick conditioner that you just like put on your hair and you let it sit there. I let it sit there for like an hour because like my hair just like needs it. It's like very coarse. And then I wash it out and then I'll like dye my hair, get it done.
Wait, is
Then
wash it out a step, or is that just part of the mask?
it's part of it, but like my hair is so long and thick, it like feels like I'm drowning when I'm doing it.
Are you like waterboarding yourself essentially?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I feel like a drowned rat after I shower. It's just
God.
like it's so bad. Then what I'll do is I have like a like Moroccan oil that I'll put on my hair. I have an anti-frizz oil that I'll put on my hair. I have conditioner detangler that I'll spray my hair with. And then I have basically a like a tips root like conditioner and like hair lotion that I put on my hair too. And so like all of that together makes my hair look better. And that it took
Boom.
me a little while to figure it out. But then I tried a
Winning.
new shampoo and the shampoo stripped my purple out. So now I've ordered the right shampoo and conditioner that's like care intensive stuff. I've like looked into a lot of like Middle Eastern like people type like hair stuff that like works well for my hair. So making sure like all those products use that. And then yeah, now it's working. It's looking healthier now. And so I won't be like embarrassed when I see my mom on Thanksgiving. She'll be good.
And she's not going to ask about your hair, right? That'd be the worst thing. She's like, "Oh, how you doing?
Usually it's like,
Oh, what's wrong with your
yeah, my
hair?"
mom will tell me when things like look awful from the beginning. She was like, your hair looks horrible. Like, what are you doing? Like, why does it look like this? Like, have you not washed it? Why? I'm like, Mom, I'm working on a company. She's like, when you meet people, do they tell you that your hair is terrible? I'm like, no.
No, like everything was fine.
She's like, you don't look like a CEO. I'm like, I'm a tech CEO. We don't need good hair. But it's fine. My mom
Well,
wants me to be like Sarah Blakely, which like hopefully one day I'll get there.
hell yeah.
But yeah, I need to send her some books of like all these like women being like, and I never showered for 3 weeks when I was doing my first startup. But here we are.
Maybe there's a book on like hair care for marketers, and that is like the breakthrough,
That is our next thing. I have another Persian friend, and we're going to make a Persian hair care brand as her next thing. She already has a very successful like jewelry brand that I'm like helping her out on her Facebook marketing, and then we're going to get her and we're going to like make like a hair care brand that's like more scalable and faster.
Hell yeah. And you got the
Yeah.
name in like Farsi and it's gold lettering or something.
Yeah. Now I'm saying is now she has to do it. And I'll also send this to her. I love how I'm just like calling people out on this with you. It's like hilarious.
That's what we're here for. We're just here to shout people out.
So funny.
Call them out. Like, it's time to make that product. Let's go.
Yeah. I need to text her. It's my fault. We're like behind. So
See, I'm just glad to have like reminded you that you need to text her. So
thank you.
on that note, how about this for a parallel? How can people get in touch with you?
Ooh, yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn. So if you mention the podcast in your LinkedIn message, I will accept your LinkedIn message and I will talk to you. Like that's like my best place. That you can also tweet at me. I get the tweets. I'm not always on Twitter, but I'm there. And then I'm on my Instagram too. If you just Google my name, just Pardees without the Safizadeh, like all of my social profiles will just pop up because I've SEO'd it and I've been there forever.
So you're on the Twitters, huh? That's cool.
Yeah, I'm on the Twitters. Like I had a lot of people in the startup scene tell me I have to get back on Twitter. So now I'm back on Twitter.
Which Pardees are you? Are you just
I'm just at Pardees.
Oh my gosh, you got the first name thing. That's so
I know.
badass.
When I was like, I see like the Twitter startup girl at like one point in time, and like someone was like, "So what does Pardees mean?" And I was like, "Paradise." And they're like, "But does it stand for anything else?" I'm like, "No, it's literally my name." Like the guy thought I was like some like code word. I'm like, he's like, "What is it?" I'm like, "It's me. Here I am."
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Hello.
That is so cool. Yeah, I am already following you. Fantastic.
Yeah, I think we follow each other on Inbound. We talked about it.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. That makes sense. Sweet. Okay. So fantastic. And we will link to all these things in the show notes so people can get in touch with you. Hell yeah. Thank you so much for coming on here. I don't know if you looked at the clock, but literally time has like zapped by.
I know. I talk so much. I was looking at the time. I'm like, oh no, we're like gone past the hour. I'm sorry.
No,
Casey.
yeah, unless you have a hard stop, then now you're 11 minutes late. But
Yeah.
other than that, no. This has been so cool. It's been one of those things I really wanted to learn more about and just analyze more the idea of the go-to-market and the fact that we were able to break it down. And even the idea of growlers and cookies. There's just all sorts of things here I can take away from today. So thank you for coming on here.
You're
and hanging
welcome.
out.
Yeah, this is a heavily manipulative behavior graphic podcast brought by Casey.
Yes. Healthy behavior manipulation. Awesome, right? Now we got a title. Man, this will be the one episode that goes to 1 million on YouTube, and everyone's going to be disappointed because they came for some other creepy thing that we are not providing for them.
We're not talking about. Yeah,
amazing.
exactly.
And those people listening, if you learned something, and I freaking know you did, because I literally have 2 pages of notes front and back over here, then share this episode with someone else. Be a thought leader to 1 person, 9 people, 3,000 people, whatever. Just get good information into other people's hands. And with that, Pardees, you're the best. Let's hang out again next event.
Yeah. And on my podcast coming soon, I'll be interviewing Casey, and I have to
Hell
say it,
yeah,
so we
you
do it.
are.
Hell yeah. Let's
Hell
do it.
yeah. I am there. And with that, thank you all for listening to another crazy cool episode of the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will catch you all next time.